Hello and welcome to In Depth. I'm Teena Jha. Monsoon is often described as the lifeblood of the Indian economy. Two-thirds of our population still depends on farm income, and over 40% of our cropped area does not have any form of irrigation other than rains. The country gets about 70% annual rainfall in the June-September monsoon season. A good monsoon increases crop productivity, which raises farm income, boosts rural consumption and drives the economy. A weak monsoon, on the other hand, hurts farmers, results in inflated food prices and creates havoc in the economy. In the next 30 minutes, we'll try to understand in greater detail the impact of monsoon and also explore the science behind the annual weather phenomenon. Monsoons impact Indian economy, agriculture, industry, as well as society as a whole. But why are monsoons so significant? Let's find out in this report. Monsoon does not just give people respite from sizzling heat, it also transforms large parts of semi-desert zones into green lands. It directly impacts agriculture that is so essential for the economy and economic growth. In arts and literature, rains are an artist's muse, a lover's romance.
Country like India, which is largely dependent on the monsoon rains, agriculture sector and its allied sector is heavily looks forward to the monsoon. The agriculture sector, why it largely depends on that? Because we are still not very rich in other resources to look after our crops. Okay, there are some pockets which are heavily dependent on that.
The word monsoon comes from the Arabic word mausim or season. In Hindi and Urdu, it becomes mausam. The modern Dutch word monsoon also considered the basis of the word monsoon. Monsoon in South Asia affects the Indian subcontinent, where it is one of the oldest and the most anticipated weather phenomena that occurs every year from June through September. Southwest monsoon accounts for 80% rainfall in India. Indian agriculture is heavily dependent on the rains for crops especially like cotton, rice, oilseeds and coarse grains. A delay of monsoon's arrival even by a few days can badly affect the economy.
India is an agrarian country, so our economy is largely dependent on agriculture. Further, agriculture in India is largely rain-fed, as we don't have sufficient irrigation facilities. And monsoon rainfall, if you consider, it is about 70 to 90% of the total amount of rainfall in a year.
According to the World Bank, more than 50% of India's population still depends primarily on agriculture for its livelihood. India has received an average 89 centimeters of rainfall in the last 50 years. It recorded below average rainfall last year at 95%. According to the Met Department, rainfall between 96% to 104% is considered average in the monsoon season, provided all parts of the country receive an even distribution of rainfall. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. For people of India, monsoon rains are showers of relief. After the scorching summer, this is one annual event that all of us anxiously wait for, especially the farmers who depend largely on monsoon rains for their livelihood. But what causes the monsoon? Let's find out in this report. Monsoon refers to a seasonal change in the direction of the prevailing winds of a region. It arises due to a difference in temperature between landmass and the adjacent ocean. Monsoons cause wet and dry seasons throughout much of the tropics and are most often associated with the Indian Ocean. In India, monsoon usually arrives around the 1st of June every year. This year, the southwest monsoon arrived 3 days ahead of schedule in Kerala, heralding the start of the rainy season.
The monsoon develops because of the temperature difference between the land surface and the sea surface. Considering India with respect to monsoon, we have got large landmass which gets hot off during the summer months. At the same time, you have the cooler sea in the Indian Ocean, South Indian Ocean, North Indian Ocean. So hence there is a large temperature difference between northern part of the country where you can have some kind of heat low, that is higher temperature over northwest India, and you have got lower temperature in the southern hemisphere. So therefore we get a high pressure belt over the southern hemisphere and a low pressure over the northern hemisphere over northwest India and adjoining Pakistan.
The summer monsoon and the winter monsoon determine the climate for most of India and Southeast Asia. The southwest summer monsoon is attracted by a low pressure area that is caused by the extreme heat of the Thar Desert and adjoining areas during summer. During the monsoon, the wind direction reverses. Moisture-laden winds from the Indian Ocean come to fill up the void, but because they cannot pass through the Himalayas, they are forced to rise. The gain in altitude of the clouds results in a drop in temperature, bringing about rain. When the southwest monsoon reaches India, it splits into two parts around the mountainous region of the Western Ghats in south-central India. From here, one part moves northwards over the Arabian Sea and up the coastal side of the Western Ghats. The other one flows over the Bay of Bengal, up through Assam and hits the eastern Himalayan range.
Country like India, which is largely dependent on the monsoon rains, agriculture sector and its allied sector is heavily looks forward to the monsoon. And I will also say that the monsoon is not only for the agriculture reform, it has got the emotional value also. Many sectors are very closely related with this. As far as the agri concerned, we have about close to about 1150-1200 millimeter of annual rainfall in our country. Out of that, 887 millimeter takes place in these 4 months, which amounts to almost about 75% of the rainfall.
The summer monsoon between April and September brings about heavy rainfall. As winter ends, warm and moist air from the southwest Indian Ocean blows towards the Indian subcontinent. Humid climate and torrential rainfall in countries like India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh and Myanmar is brought about by the summer monsoon. The winter monsoon lasts from October to April. The dry winter monsoon blows from the northeast and is less powerful than summer monsoons in Southeast Asia. This because the Himalayan range prevents much of the wind and moisture of the monsoons from reaching the coast. The Himalayas also prevent much of the cool air from reaching places like southern India and Sri Lanka, keeping them warm all through the year. Besides the summer and winter monsoons, there are other monsoons as well. The Asian-Australian monsoon, which includes the Indian Ocean, stretches from northern Australia to Russia's Pacific coast. This huge monsoon wind system then stretches into the Indian Ocean. The North American monsoon happens once a year, usually in the middle of summer. Warm, moist air from the Gulf of California blows northeast, while warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico blows northwest. These two winds meet over the Sierra Madre Occidental Mountains in central Mexico. The monsoon brings moisture to the mountain ecosystem before continuing north to the US states of Arizona, New Mexico and Texas. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. The monsoon season in India starts with the onset of the southwest monsoon in June and continues till the middle of September. Let's understand how and why the monsoon season arrives every year almost at the same time.
The Indian monsoon is the most prominent of the world's monsoon systems. It primarily affects the whole of India and its surrounding water bodies. Monsoons create an entire season in which winds reverse completely with different temperature trends over the land and ocean.
Climatologically, monsoon arrives near Kerala coast around 1st June. This year it has arrived around 10 June. The arrival of monsoon near Kerala is marked with certain changes in atmospheric circulation features, like southwesterly to westerly winds strengthen near Kerala coast, and these westerly winds extend at least up to a height of about 4.5 kilometers. Also, the moisture builds up over this region and cloudiness also increases significantly. Finally, the result is there is increase in rainfall activity there should be widespread rainfall activity over Kerala and adjoining areas. With all these conditions being fulfilled, IMD declares arrival of monsoon near Kerala. After that, its progress towards the north is associated with similar changes in atmospheric circulations or wind patterns and the resultant rainfall over different regions.
According to the direction of the wind, monsoons are mainly divided into two parts, the southwest and northeast monsoon. Southwest monsoon is also called the Indian monsoon as it covers most parts of the country, while the northeast monsoon is known as retreating monsoon. The southwest summer monsoon is attracted by a low pressure area that's caused by extreme heat of the Thar desert and adjoining areas during summer. During monsoons, the wind direction reverses. Moisture-laden winds from the Indian Ocean rush up to fill up the void, but because they can't pass through the Himalayas, they are forced to rise. The gain in altitude of the clouds result in a drop in temperature, bringing about rains. When the northwest monsoon reaches India, it splits into two parts around the mountainous region of the Western Ghats in south-central India. One part moves northwards over the Arabian Sea and up the coastal side of the Western Ghats. The other flows over the Bay of Bengal, up through Assam and hits the eastern Himalayas. The southwest monsoon reaches the coast of Kerala around June 1st. It usually arises in Mumbai approximately 10 days later, reaches Delhi by the end of June and covers the rest of India by mid-July.
Typically, the northern parts, they have a 2 months of effective monsoon period. The central parts and the southern part, they have all 4 months. But the monsoon rainfall we count from 1st of June till 30th of September, whatever the amount may be, that goes against the monsoon. Even if the monsoon comes early, maybe by about a week, which has happened earlier also, and this time also it's arrived 4 days in advance. But the rainfall countdown will start from 1st of June only, and similarly goes for withdrawal also. Withdrawal, as I said, it starts sometime in the first week of April, but then it gets completed only sometime in October. The rainfall will be counted only up to 30th of September.
The winds contain a lot of moisture. When these moisture-laden winds move over the Indian subcontinent, they cause widespread rain throughout India and from June to September. Thus, most of the rainfall in India is confined to these 4 months alone. Every year, the date of the monsoon's arrival is the subject of much speculation. Despite numerous predictions by the meteorological department, it's rare that anyone gets it right. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Whenever we talk about monsoon, we hear the word El Nino. Globally, El Nino can trigger above average rains in northern Peru, drought in Southeast Asia, Australia, India and Northeast Brazil, cyclones in the Central Pacific and stormy weather in southern and western United States. Let's understand what is El Nino and what are its effects on the monsoon.
El Nino is a Spanish word that means the little boy. Scientifically, El Nino is a climate pattern that describes the unusual warming of surface waters in the eastern tropical Pacific Ocean. As the ocean is one of the biggest influences in our weather, this phenomenon has a dramatic effect on the weather around the globe. For more than 100 years, scientists have connected the variability of the summer monsoon rains in India to El Nino. Due to El Nino, the surface temperature of the ocean could witness an increase of 5 degrees Celsius. In such a condition, the warm water also acts as a cap that prevents cold water from coming up to the surface. This not only affects the weather across the planet, but also marine life and seabirds.
इस और धरती पे लगभग 70% तो हमारे ओशन हैं, केवल 30% ही लैंड मास है. तो इस ओशन और लैंड मास की वजह से डिफरेंशियल हीटिंग होती है. ओशन इतने ज़्यादा गर्म नहीं होते, लैंड मास जो है उसके कंपैरिजन में ज़्यादा गर्म हो जाता है.
During an El Nino event, the prevailing winds across the Pacific weaken and sometimes they can even reverse and blow the other way, which in turn affects the global climate and disrupts normal weather patterns. leading to intense storms in some places and droughts in others. Although El Nino does not occur in a perfectly regular pattern, it seems to happen every 2 to 7 years. The average period length is 5 years.
Monsoon circulation, being a large-scale circulation, shows interannual variations, and this interannual variation is mainly attributed to variation in large-scale processes, as I discussed, like El Nino and southern oscillations or La Nina conditions, and other large-scale processes.
It was only in 1960 that oceanographers and scientists tried to understand the effects of El Nino widely. It was then discovered that El Nino not only affects the unusual rainfall in Peru, but also impacts India's monsoon patterns. It has also been linked to droughts in Australia and floods in parts of South America. Scientists, however, say climate change might also be adding an extra kick to El Nino because warmer oceans add more fuel to storms and weather patterns. With inputs from Leena Sharma, Bureau Report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And time for a very short break on the program. We'll be right back.
Watch The Big Picture with me, Frank Rausen Pereira, at 6:30 p.m.
I thought that let me give some chance of doing this MD forensic medicine, because I could see that there is a lot of potential in that particular branch. You can help the society in identifying the crime. You can help the society by providing them the information about the cause of death. For every aspect, we have separate divisions in forensic science laboratory. It is not single person's job. Every person is trained in that particular area. And whatever technology is to be used, it should be high-end. We always emphasize this subject is important in our Indian system particularly. And importance of the subject is most valued when you are actually in practice.
Watch Eureka with Dr. Sanjeev Lalwani, Registrar of Academics and Professor of Forensic Medicine at Trauma Center, AIMS, only on Rajya Sabha Television.
In 4 years of Modi government, today watch the impact of labor reforms on the common man.
हमारे जो पीएफ कटता है उसमें हमारा ईएसआई भी कटता है, जो हम बीमार पड़े तो वहाँ ईएसआई जाके इलाज करवा सकते हैं।
ऐसा नहीं कि नियम तो पहले भी थे, कानून भी थे, लेकिन उसका पालन मुझे लगता है जो वास्तव में होना शुरू हुआ है वो 2014 में मोदी सरकार आने के बाद ही हुआ है।
यूनिवर्सल सोशल सिक्योरिटी कोड एक आ रहा है, मीन्स देश का कोई भी व्यक्ति जो सोशल सिक्योरिटी है इससे वंचित नहीं रहेगा।
जो कंस्ट्रक्शन में काम कर रहा है उसे पता नहीं होता था कि मेरे क्या है, मुझको क्या मिलना चाहिए। आज सरकार के अवेयरनेस के कारण ये सबको नीचे तक कदम जा रहा है।
4 years of Modi government, only on Rajya Sabha Television.
Art arisen from a multi-hued cultural canvas. Tradition and cultural fervor dating back centuries. And encircling them all, there's a magic that awes. Embrace your nation's brilliant human warmth. Watch Colours of India, Sundays at 9:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha Television.
Welcome back. You're watching In Depth on the Signs of Monsoon. In the last 2 decades, the debate over climate change has been a hot topic, and the reasons behind it have raised some serious concerns. Climate change is also affecting monsoon. Let's take a look at our next report on climate change.
According to some recent studies, the character of monsoon has been erratic. A study by the National Climate Centre, Pune, for the years 1901 to 2003, some areas are receiving more rain than previous years, while some are facing a drought-like situation. Even the recent Nature Climate Change study points towards changing rainfall patterns. A large number of environmentalists believe that climate change is a factor behind such erratic behavior of monsoon.
Monsoon has seen many cycles, as when we study. Possibly there were some decades in the 50s and somewhere in 60s when we didn't experience any drought for almost about 15 years. But then therein, after that, there came a cycle of about 15-20 years when there were frequent droughts. Drought in every 3 to 4 years, there is one drought. Why go that far? Even in the recent past, you just take about 10 years, the good monsoon only we had in 2013.
The area-wise rainfall in the month of July and August has also changed, and this nature of monsoon has forced the government to make new policies. If there is a change in the rainfall pattern for a particular area, its effect is not only limited to that area, rather it will affect the whole geographical structure of the country. Though scientists believe that there is a change in the monsoon pattern, there are differing opinions about whether climate change is behind it.
It is a mysterious phenomena. It is a complex phenomena also. Every time it proves it's what we call it as a mystery, that it remains many things to be solved. So it leaves behind a number of mysteries every year. What we have come to understand is there are many controlling factors of the monsoon. Some of them we know, and some of them possibly we may not know also.
Although there has been a very slight change in the annual rainfall in the past 100 years, the change in pattern and duration of the rainfall has become a matter of concern. This changing pattern is leading to increased monsoon extremes, that is, changes in duration and intensity of rainfall. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Monsoon results in a change in the nature and direction of winds. We leave you with this report that tells you how this happens and what triggers the onset of monsoon. Thanks for watching.
There are many theories about the origin of the monsoon. The thermal wave theory says that when the sun changes its position during summers, sun rays directly fall over Tropic of Cancer. This creates a very low pressure in the Thar Desert or northwest part of India. It is this low pressure that allows northeastern trade winds to move from land to sea to be unable to cause rains. Besides this, the center of excessive low pressure in the northwestern region pulls in the southeast trade winds flowing from the southern hemisphere. These trade winds from the northeast in the northern hemisphere and from the southeast in the southern hemisphere fill up the low pressure areas in India. The southeast trade winds cross the equator and enter as southwest monsoon winds. Because of the Coriolis effect, these southeast trade winds are deflected east in the northern hemisphere, transforming into southwest trade winds. Southwest monsoon winds are moisture-laden as they blow over the ocean, which is why they trigger rains on entering India. Monsoons can be categorized into two branches based on their spread over the subcontinent: the Arabian Sea branch and the Bay of Bengal branch. The Arabian Sea branch causes rains in western coast and western Ghats, while the Bay of Bengal branch hits the Arakan Yoma mountains of Myanmar and causes rains in the northeastern and eastern part of India and heads towards the Gangetic plains.
Sun is in a continuously moving between Tropic of Cancer and Capricorn. the movement of sun is creating temperature differential over the surface of the earth. Okay, with the movement of the sun there is a thermal equator which is created on the planet earth. Otherwise equator is 0 degree latitude is equator, but then thermal equator will shift north and south along with the position of the sun. And with the shift of this thermal equator, not only the temperature changes will take place, you will have the change in the winds, change in the humidity, change in the clouding, change in the rainfall pattern. So,
according to the second theory of monsoon, during the summer months in the northern hemisphere, the ITCZ or the Intertropical Convergence Zone shifts north, pulling the southwest monsoon winds onto the land from the sea. However, the huge land mass of the Himalayas restricts the low pressure zone onto the Himalayas themselves. It is only when the Tibetan plateau heats up significantly more than the Himalayas that the ITCZ abruptly and swiftly shifts north, leading to the bursting of monsoon rains over the Indian subcontinent. The reverse shift takes place for the northeast monsoon winds, leading to a second minor burst of rainfall over the eastern Indian peninsula during the northern hemisphere winter months.
We get a high pressure belt over the southern hemisphere and a low pressure over the northern hemisphere over northwest India and adjoining Pakistan. This temperature difference and hence the pressure difference lead to wind blowing from southern hemisphere to the Indian region across the equator. So when it crosses the equator, its direction changes, it becomes southwesterly. Hence the name is southwest monsoon, and this southwest monsoon strength depends upon the heating over this northwest and adjoining Pakistan region and the strength of the high pressure belt, which is usually located near Mascarin Island.
A major reason for the origin of monsoon is the jet stream winds that flows in the upper atmosphere of the Himalayas. It has two parts, eastern jet stream and western jet stream. Being helpful in flying jet aircrafts, they are named jet stream. In the winter season, the western jet stream blows over India or Asia. As long as the western jet stream blows over India, high pressure remains on India and it prevents the surface air from rising. Because of this, monsoon winds do not come to India. But during the summers, the western jet stream slips towards north and the eastern jet stream blows over India. Due to the eastern jet stream, the surface hot winds in the northwest part start rising upwards and builds low pressure. And to fill this void, monsoon winds start moving towards India, and this causes the onset of monsoon. Light or heavy rainfall is also due to jet stream disturbance. When this disturbance is strong, it causes heavy rains, and when it is weak, it causes drizzling. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.